Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Road to Grandmaster series. This is my third tournament back in action. This is the 8th round out of 9 here in Spilimbergo, Italy. My room is a little bit dirty, so just like your chess. Disregard. I hate chess. Okay? We've reached that point. This has been not a great tournament. My performance rating is like 2303, so I'm losing 5 or 6 elo. And this game did not make it any better. So that's all I have to say. I'm going to show you the game, and then I'm going to go probably drink some local wine and enjoy myself before the final game. So before the game started, I obviously got my pairings, and I was playing against a very intimidating young guy. His name is Suleiman Lee. It's a name so nice. You say it twice. Now, I think Suleiman Lee is a brother of Aiden Suleiman Lee, who is 1 year older than my opponent and 2600 GM. I think maybe they're cousins. I don't know. I have no idea. But they have the same last name. And what I noticed about Suleiman when I looked up his games, he's very solid. I think he's having a pretty decent tournament here as well. Yeah, I mean, okay, he lost 1 game, but he won 3, and he's probably gaining some rating. So my opponent plays knight f3 and pawn to g3. He plays the ready like his life depends on it. If aliens came to Earth and they said, we're going to blow up the Earth unless you play 1 game, not knight f3, g3, I'm not sure he would do it. Like, he only plays knight f3, g3. So in some ways, it's easy to prepare for him, and in others, it's not so easy to prepare for him because he's just so solid, right? So I did, I looked at his games, and I decided I would play d5 and bishop g4. This is actually, again, kind of like a Trumpowski. You may remember that earlier in the tournament, I had a game which went d4, knight f6, g3, bishop g4. And then like this, bishop e7, c4, c6, and my opponent, I think, played knight d2. So I was expecting maybe we would reach a similar looking position, but I would play it via this move order because I haven't touched my other pawns yet. And also, maybe he would provoke me. For example, he can play knight e5 here. And I mean, this is a pretty complicated line, c4 and so on. But he played bishop g2, and here I played c6. This blunts the bishop and also enables the capture on c4 in some lines, and knight d7. And the reason I went for this approach is because I was not sure he was going to prevent e5. Right? Like, you notice I haven't touched my pawn. Now, if he plays d4, we just get a pure game. I play e6, he plays c4, and probably I play like knight f6, and he could turn the game exactly into my previous game, or he can play knight c3, at which point it's up to me to decide, like, for example, I can take on c4 here and try to defend it, or I can play very solidly. But he played h3, and I wasn't, like, completely expecting this move. I had seen him play it before. He played it earlier this year in Azerbaijan against a strong player. And this is the point. I mean, basically, you give up the bishop, which looks really stupid. And also, you would think, well, he gave up the light-scored bishop. He should play e6. e6 is completely playable, but it's very passive, right? It's very, very passive. Maybe I could have gone for e6, but then, of course, he hasn't moved these pawns, so he could still choose what to do with them. But I went for e5. And the point of e5 is that he kind of has to go for d3. I mean, he doesn't have to do anything. But if he plays d4 now, I play e4, bishop g2, and I can even start some sort of like attack. And he's going to try to play c4. Like this, I was very happy to get. But then he played bishop g2, which is a fascinating move. Basically, he's telling me, hey, I still want to go d4, but now you can't attack me. So f5, for example, now he can change everything and say, oh, I'm not going to go d4 anymore. I'm going to play d3 and e4, right? So, if I if I develop the wrong way here, he like I don't have information. I don't know which of these pawn pushes he's gonna play. But there is one common idea here, which is like e4, take, and you have a game. And it's a bit imbalanced. He has the bishop, but it's not really useful right now. This is the kind of position I was going for. But he played d4 anyway. And like I said, this guy plays the ready with bishop g2, d4, c4, like every game I found ever, like that he plays online, offline. You know, I was shocked. Now, I cannot play for the same e4 because I already blocked my f-pawn, right? In the previous version, I didn't. And c4 here, knight b6, I was looking at something like this, and I just thought, why would I give him this kind of a position? So I went pawn takes, queen takes, and simply develop. I mean, there's nothing wrong with developing the bishop and winning a tempo and preparing to castle, right? So I thought, okay, it's probably equal, but I actually thought I was a tiny bit better, and I am, as you can see. It's minus 0.1. Now, I thought the best move here for him to continue with the plan of probably c4 and everything was queen d1. But okay, he played queen f4, which I thought was also a reasonable move. I was even considering to play queen c7, attacking this pawn, right, using this pin. Let's say king h2, and maybe something like h5. Just trying to find something. I mean, there's also like queen d3, queen c7, and king h2, and even here maybe h5. Like there are ideas here that are brewing. And okay, and at the last thing I'm gonna show, maybe long castle, like maybe, because again he's got the bishop pointing here, but I'm gonna castle my king. Like there was a lot of lines, and he went here, and that move makes sense because it prevents queen c7. And obviously, the other idea of this move is he wants to play c4. I mean, I spent maybe 2 minutes here, and then I castled less. I was like, again, you can calculate different. Like, I was even thinking h6, g5 here, but this felt really slow. This felt really stupid, too. Like, what am I doing? Plus, he can just nuzzle on f5. Once I realized he could nuzzle, I was like, he's not nuzzling in my position. Does that mean what I think it is? Define nuzzle. Rub or push against gently with the nose and mouth. Okay, yeah, like dogs nuzzling. Yeah, you know, nowadays, you know, like Gen Z, Gen Alpha, all you bozos who are in the comment section and upvoting each other and saying Levy never fails. Listen, I never know, all right? Maybe I said nuzzle and it means something awful, like something disgusting, right? Because, you know, we got a mewing, but then you can mog someone who's mewing and that makes you sigma. I don't know, okay? I don't know, all right? Anyway, queen f4, I didn't want him to nuzzle, castles, c4. Here I played the top engine move. I was actually very happy when I discovered this plan. Like, on the one hand, I can take on c4, but I realized if he takes me and I take with the knight, which is what happened in the game, this structure can arise where white has e, f, g, h, and a, b. There's 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. It can arise in a lot of different lines, and it looks like on the one hand, white's got this Catalan bishop, you know, from the kind of opening that he played, but it's like impossible to utilize, and because I have so much development here, I mean, I'm literally gonna have 5, 6 pieces out, not there, but on d8. So I thought he doesn't really have an opportunity to take advantage of anything. I mean, if he played knight c3 defending his pawn, I would just play d4, knight e4, something like take, knight f6 maybe, knight e5, I don't know. And I have more space and I'm very happy. So he took. I also considered here to create the isolated pawn, but somehow this felt dumb. So I took with the knight, he went here, and queen e7. And queen e7 was a very provocative move, I thought. So what I had calculated here was I'm losing the pawn, but if he takes that pawn, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and probably one more queen move. Like, he's gonna have spent 33% of the game moving his queen, and I'm gonna get all my pieces out, and I'm probably gonna get my pawn back. So, yeah, I was feeling pretty decent about myself here. One thing that I had calculated here was the move e4, which is the entire point of his structure. He's trying to play e4, and I saw a really nice idea here, knight e5. And then queen goes back to e2, and knight b4. And I'm just trying to shove a knight onto d3. Now, the game is not over. He can prepare f4 and play king h2. And then I would play, like, if I play here, maybe he plays f4. So maybe something like rook d8. If he plays a3, I can play knight d3. And I mean, it's a mess. Like, the position's very complicated. He can play f4. I'm going to play knight d3. You know, something like this. Like, he may give up the bishop, but then he's better if I take it. So, oops. Whoops. E4, knight e5, queen e2. I mean, I spent all this time looking at these really interesting ideas and lines and, you know, and then here, whatever, bishop d4, like, it's a very tense game, very tense fight. I got the queen and the rooks and the knights. You know, I'm trying to damage his structure and move a bunch of different things. And I was like, well, bishop d5 is dumb because why would he give up his best piece? He's not even going to win a pawn because I'm threatening this in all lines. And then to my horror, he spent 12.5 minutes here, and he took my knight. And I was so mad because this move effectively kills the game. He's basically winning a pawn, happily giving this one back and saying, well, then it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 versus 2 with the same exact bishop and knight. So I took on d5, queen d5. Here I calculated something so wicked, and I was like, did he see all this or get really lucky? I might be able to take on e2. Which is so sick. Which is so sick. He can take my knight, and I was looking at rook to d8, and I was like, am I winning or losing? And as you see, he's up a full knight, but it's only 0.5. If he takes on b7, I straight up think he loses the game. Because I calculated queen g2... and rook f1, queen f1, queen f3. I thought he was losing here. Apparently he's not. Oh my god, because the knight saves the king. Look at this. And this is a draw because I play, oh yeah, h5. Duh. What? Yeah, he can't move. Right? My rook is just pulverizing him. Right? So, just absolutely wild stuff. Absolutely wild stuff. I ultimately didn't go for queen e2 because I thought queen e2, queen d7, rook d8, queen g4 is the best move. I saw bishop f2, king g2, and I was like, and some of you may be wondering, why not rook f2? Well, then I have rook d1, and I thought at the very least, I get this, and he can't move. And I'm like, am I better here? What is going on? Rook f1, like, look at this. Rook e1, take. Like, what is this position? I mean... So I was spending all my time calculating all these wild possibilities that could have occurred. Obviously, it's, you know, it's all hovering probably around equality, but it's a really fascinating position. The most disgusting thing about all of this is, by the way, and I'm not sure he would have even taken the knight. Like, he can just play knight c3. Now my knight is hanging, so I have to defend it, and this is probably just a draw. Like, he gets his pieces out. I mean, he gets his pieces out, and it's just equal. So from a distance, like when I went queen e7, which is the top engine move, you know, I thought like he can't do this because I play knight f6. Another thing I calculated, by the way, was what I played in the game knight f6. I thought his whole point was that he's going to not let me take this pawn by playing queen f5, defending the pawn by hitting my bishop. Here I calculated knight e4. And if he plays king g2, right, because the threat was this, I thought I have bishop f2, take. Now I throw in this check. And if he goes queen f3, this is just a losing position, I think, for white. I mean, it's really, really bad. So, again, I was flexing some of my calculation muscles here, which really haven't been firing in the beginning of this tournament, but I got some sleep. I'm no longer jet lagged. And, you know, like I'm actually calculating quite sharply. I saw all these different amazing lines where I can sack the knight and everything. And I didn't. I thought he was going to play queen f3, queen f5. A move I didn't see at all because it's a bit boring, to be honest. It's just queen g2. I mean, it makes sense. He just says, I had never had an interest in defending the pawn. And if you take it, I'm going to play knight c3. And then I'm going to develop my bishop. Now, here I saw that I could play knight e4, again creating this threat. And after something like e3, I can maybe play like rook d8. But the reason I didn't do that, which actually does look quite nice for me, is because if knight e4, I even thought he could play knight c3. And yeah, and then I still don't, by the way, I still don't take the pawn because he would take on b7, so I play rook d8. And I'm a pawn down, but I'm more active. But I'm a pawn down. So he would still try to give the pawn up, and then I have to, like, not take it. And then he would probably defend it, and yeah, I have to play like g5 and stuff. And I mean, this is not a calculated risk I really wanted to take. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm gonna have to collect my pawn at some point, and then it's just back to equal. So I breathed a very disappointed sigh that literally nothing interesting was happening in this game, and I took the pawn. And this was actually the last moment where I could have done something interesting. I mean, I have a regular human brain, so I thought, well, he's trying to develop his bishop, so I should keep my queen nuzzled, if you will, in his position while the queen ends up mewing. He's going to try to develop, but I'm going to put pressure on his queen side. The best move is queen h5. Which did not occur to me whatsoever. My coach said it also did not occur to him. But the point is that basically I have no threat. Like, I'm not threatening anything. He can't take me because I would take on h3. And after something like queen h5 and bishop g4, rather bishop f4, the position is like minus 0.3, which is probably just a draw. Like, I don't know if I would have been able to capitalize on this asymmetry. One thing I could try to do is bishop d4 with the simple idea to do something like this. And here, black is better because white's got a bad structure, but he wouldn't let me do that. Anyway, I went queen c2, and still, by the way, I'm gambling a pawn. I'm giving up a pawn. That pawn is 100% free. My idea of queen b7 was to then play h6, play a slow move, and pressure his queen side. After something like queen f3, I thought I had maybe rook d8 or rook b8 or whatever, and it's kind of hard for him to make a move. He probably has to give up b2 somehow. But my man was just, he was solid. Bishop g5, and then he took my knight, and I was like, oh, yeah. And he takes on b7, and now, I got to take his knight, and if I play rook b8, which I thought about playing, he gets a second pawn. And if I play rook b2, he probably just goes here. And he's just up a pawn. I mean, I thought about like bishop somewhere. I don't know. But bishop d8 is terrible because of queen d7 and rook e1. So I took on c3 and offered him a draw, and he took it. Thank God, because theoretically, we could have played this position for another 4 hours, but it's completely symmetrical. And by the way, at your level, I recommend playing this out because you would win or lose it with both colors. This sucks. I mean, this just really sucks. And what this teaches me, this game taught me that, Levy 1.0 had pretty crappy openings, especially against d4, c4, knight f3. We'll just show you on a chessboard. My new style of chess is way more professional in my opinion, and I have a really good opening repertoire with black. d5, e6, knight f6, like different lines. And so against white's 3 other options that are not e4, I'm very good. I have like a very good repertoire. But it's pretty low risk. It's pretty hard for me if my opponent, like as you see in this game, my opponent played 98.5%. I mean, even though I got him into a position where I had more space and had some active play, white is playing white. You as long as you don't literally explode, you will be equal. So this teaches me that I need a second weapon with black, especially when I want to play for a win. And that weapon is TBD. Because I lose 1 rating point for this game, but it's a 2-hour draw against technically a player who's lower rated than me. I mean, by strength, I'm sure we are close. But like nothing happened. This is just kind of a big nothing game. But the good news is I get some rest. I have 5 points out of 8. I'm still down about 6 rating points on the tournament. So tomorrow I'm gonna play my last game with the white pieces, and I'm gonna try to win, end the tournament with 6 out of 9, and yeah, go home only down a few points before the next tournament, which begins August the 28th, which is a GM Norm event in New York City. So yeah, I hate chess sometimes. But after a win like yesterday, which was one of the most, it probably was the most insane over the board game I've ever played, this is kind of nice. So I will go get some rest. You go get some rest. Shout out to all of you watching. Shout out to all of you who have taken the 33% off on Chessly. And big things are coming on Chessly, by the way. So if you haven't yet checked it out, you can go. I'm going to make probably some screen on the homepage, which where you can, sign up for updates. And that's all. Get out of here.